going to cover some SEO tactic for improving your page rank and getting yourselves some more traffic. Now, these three things can help double your traffic in just a few weeks. So I want you to pay attention. Now, before I cover these three critical ranking factors, let me cover something a little basic. And some of you probably know this already, but for the benefit of others, bear with me. You see, your computer, when you're browsing the internet, is going to make a request to the cloud, and it's going to request files such as images, scripts, and other content. So you have your JavaScript, you have HTML files, you have JPEG files and PNG files, and plugin files, you name it. This all comes in the form of an actual file that must be downloaded over the wire or over wireless to your device. Now, this takes a certain amount of time. The more time it takes for these files to leave a web server, the lower the ranking. When these files take an unoptimized amount of time to get to the device, your ranking is negatively affected. It really boils down to two things: file size and transfer speed. In my dealings with customers and clients, particularly ones that set up their own website, or maybe had some firm that really didn't know what they were doing set up their website, I find a lot of problems in both file size and speed. But there is a solution for this. You can take the existing content on a client's website and simply make some adjustments. The term's minification, and it means to minimize or minify the scripts and resources on a web server so that they are delivered faster to a user device. And the other is compression, which you may know can come in several forms, such as zip or recompressing JPEG or PNG images, which is what I'm going to show you. So by performing these two things on your website or your client's websites, you can see a dramatic improvement in both their rankings and their organic traffic. Plus, the website will load faster, lower the bounce rate, and increase engagement on the target website. This could mean big returns for customers and for users who pay attention to the technical specifics of the web server and user-client experience. Now, it's not very technical, I'll have to say, but no, don't worry. It's actually very easy to compress, minify, and reduce the amount of time it takes for a visitor to download your website files. Let me show you a few examples. What I have here is a style.css from one of my websites. And what I want to do is compress or minify this style sheet. Now, what I mean by minify or compress is to remove all the unnecessary characters and spaces and comments from inside of the file, thus decreasing the file size and making the file transfer faster over the wire and to the user device. Now, I don't mean to sit here and delete each line and empty space and comment. No, that would be insanity. There are tools out there that will help us do this, and almost all of them are free and easily accessible online. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and grab all this CSS, and we'll go over to one tool. Here's csscompressor.com, and we'll drop our CSS in there. So now this CSS started at 29 kilobytes. So now we'll go ahead and compress it, and it'll come down to roughly 19 kilobytes, or a 30% reduction in file size. So this file will transfer faster. Now, you would want to do this with your other CSS style sheets on your website. But before you do, always make sure to take a backup of the file you intend to compress. If something goes wrong, you want to be able to restore that file. So before uploading or overwriting your existing CSS files after compression, just make sure that you have a backup, just in case something goes wrong. Now, another source, and these are often numerous. I mean, I've seen websites with hundreds of JavaScript files that all have to be downloaded by the web browser or by the mobile device or whatever. So you can take these files and compress them without affecting the functionality of the file itself and without touching any of the code. Now, you may have gotten a sneak peek before, but we would simply open a JavaScript file. So in this case, this is a date picker jQuery plugin that's on one of my themes. And I'm going to go over to the online JavaScript compression tool, paste my code in here, and then compress it. And then you see from the output, the files are identical, but they just had the comments and the empty spaces removed. All of this saves, or in this particular case, the original file was 71 kilobytes, and now this file is 36 kilobytes. So roughly a 50% reduction. So a 50% increase in the speed that it takes to download this particular JavaScript. Now multiply those kinds of space and speed savings across multiple JavaScript files and CSS files, particularly with larger websites, and you have a significant improvement in page load times and access to plugins and your content. And that type of speed, that type of optimization is recognized by search engines like Google, and your rankings improve as your user experience improves. Now, the third thing, and I think perhaps the most important part of this experience, is image compression. I see this as a big killer because images can take a while to load, particularly on mobile devices. If you still have a 3G device and you're trying to access a mobile site that's got super high quality, high res photos on it, you're going to have a bad day. It's just annoying. It takes too long. You're going to look somewhere else. Obviously, that increases the bounce rate. People never get to see the content. They never get to experience offers or even bother to hit your sales funnel. So what we want to do is take all the images on our website and we want to make sure they're optimized and compressed so they still look good, but they're a lower file size. The large files must come down in file size. There are a couple of ways to do this. One, you can go through and bring in all your images into Photoshop or another image editor and lower the file size, compress them, and make them faster to download. There are other tools, some free, others commercially available, that can do this for you. One such tool is the JPEG Optimizer. I am not an advocate of JPEGs on a website. Now, if you have an image that is irreplaceable and you can't have a raw PNG, then you could use something like this to compress that JPEG. But if you have access to Photoshop, which from Adobe Cloud is only like $50 a month, and considering all the tools you get with it, it's an incredible steal, and if you're doing this for clients, it makes the absolute best sense. So you would just select a photo, and then you can keep the default values, but you could experiment with these if you want. Just so you know, this is the image that I'm going to compress, and I've already uploaded it over here. And then we're going to choose the default values and hit Optimize Photo. So now I was able to get a 68% savings in that file size, down from almost 80 kilobytes to 24 kilobytes. The download speed on this image is going to be a lot faster, and if you noticed, the quality has not changed very much, if at all. Now, it's a little difficult to automate this type of work. So if you have 30 images on your website, you could use Photoshop batches or macros, or you could use this tool, but it's going to take a little bit for you to do. And that's good in a way, particularly if you're doing this for clients, because those are billable hours. Of course, the very first thing we did want to do was identify the issues that are going on a website, locate the specific files that are troubling us and that are targets for compression and minification. You could do this manually. You can look through your files, see which ones are not minimized or compressed, and you can look at the file sizes of images and see that they're entirely too big. Typically, you want them under 100 kilobytes or less. Again, you want it optimized and compressed. So you could do that manually, or you can use a tool to do it for you. Now, what I found is that there are tools out there for doing this, but none of them really give me a just clear-cut report of things that I need and actions that I need to take. So what I've done is I've built some software